Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Gourmet Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay, here to talk some Packers on this glorious February 18th. As we're getting this work week kind of going here, Tim, we're expecting, 2 to 4 inches of snow in the next 24 hours. You guys know that's the equivalent up in Wisconsin to 2 feet when it comes to the state of Tennessee. So how we doing, gent?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Glad you're getting some snow instead of rain. Switch it up a little bit for you guys down there. It's good.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like it's going to stay cold for a couple of weeks at least. And then I imagine we'll start cracking into the 60s and we'll be well on our way. No doubt about it. So, of course, I tell you, man, we speak 60s and look who jumps in here. This knucklehead right here. It says it's not connected yet, though. So I'm wondering if he might be on the road. He may be on the road.
He might be dragging a trailer down the highway right now. You never know.
Never know. Or the trailer might be dragging him down the highway right now. It could be that too. So he probably doesn't even know we're live. So, Amelia, I know you can hear me. Nod your head. Yeah, we're live, sir.
Here's the guy.
Nothing inappropriate.
Computer froze for a second there. Oh, great. Yeah, that's why it froze. Look who's showing up now.
Yeah, and then you got this guy right here, old Rusty Valentine. We're live, Jacob. Just want you to know we are live, sir. So
Good call.
You can only imagine the things that go on in here, pre-show and post-show for sure. Before we kind of dive into some of the stuff that I've got lined up for the show tonight, is there anything you guys want to hit on right off the bat? Anything at the forefront of your mind? I always ask you that. 90% of the time you say no, but just want to open the floor up for anybody here.
Kendall Fuller, yes or no?
Oh,
Go ahead, Tim. You first.
No, Jacob's way better because I was going to say, have we talked about Jaden Higgins recently?
Hey, Ryan did on his pod.
Yeah.
That was interesting, man, talking about the drop rate.
Yep.
I thought about doing one of those, which receiver would you rather have, and list out, the top 5 receivers in the draft and watch everybody just pounce on Jaden Higgins, even though he's projected 3rd round. Go ahead, Jacob. What'd you have, man?
Just wondering if you guys have talked about, is it Kendall Fuller, the cornerback from the Dolphins that got released? Not sure if he'd be worth taking a
We looked at him last night, actually. His projected market value is $7.5 million. So who knows? It could be 8 to 10 million per. Tim, correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't think you were as impressed with him as I was. I know I kind of listed him as one of 3 corners that I would be willing to pick up for the right price. But
yeah, I wasn't quite as excited as you were. He's right at that 30, dirty 30, as they call it in the NFL. I'd feel better if Ja was still on the team and we picked up a guy like Kendall Fuller, but I don't think we're gonna be able to do both of those. It's one or the other, and I think my sentiment was I'd rather have Ja stick around than bring Fuller in.
Got it. Jacob, what's your take on it, man? Since it's at the forefront of your mind, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think if I had to pick, I'd probably side with Tim. Brief stuff I got to look at him. I think he was drafted in 2016. Like Tim said, he's at that 30 mark. Kind of had a very quiet career with maybe like they drafted him fairly early, I believe, thinking that he would become like a shutdown corner. I think he spent some time in Kansas City with the Commanders and then went over to the Dolphins. I hadn't get a chance to look at his PFF grids, but it didn't sound very promising. In the article I was reading, they actually said that if they brought him in, that it would be more likely that they just want him as a depth player and not really a projected starter, which I'd be more okay with. But then I'd want to be paying him more like the 4 or 5 mil. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Emilio? You got anything on Kendall?
Yeah, nothing. Besides, it was just his birthday, so dude just cracked 30. I think it's a pass for me, unless it's cheap, unless it's got that yellow sticker on it.
There you go, Ross the boss, right? All right, so Kendall Fuller, passer rating when targeted, 89.8, yards per target allowed, 6.8. All right, now if you compare it to Keyshawn Nixon, you've got Keyshawn Nixon at 101.2 passer rating when targeted, and then yards per target was 6.1. So if you remove the name, you remove the salary, said which player would you rather have between Keyshawn Nixon and Kendall Fuller based off those two key analytics from last year, I'd probably go Kendall Fuller. But if you're telling me you got to pay $8 to $10 million a year for Kendall Fuller, I think I'll stick with Keyshawn. You know what I mean? One of those deals. So, and when you compare Carrington Valentine, man, Carrington Valentine's 69 passer rating allowed, when targeted, and 8.7 yards per target there. So out of all four of those corners, with the fourth being Jair Alexander, Carrington Valentine had the best passer rating allowed at 69, as where Ja was second at 77.6, Kendall Fuller was third at 89.8, and Keyshawn Nixon was 101.2. But it is worth mentioning the reason that was so much higher is because he gave up 6 touchdowns last year. At least that's what PFF, I think, had him at, or no, NFL Pro had him at allowing. Now, when you look at the yards per target, Keyshawn was the best, Kendall Fuller was second, Jair was third, and Carrington Valentine was fourth. So you want to kind of compare it across the board there. But there you go. Is that pretty much cover it, Jacob?
That'll cover it. And unfortunately, there's been multiple comments in the chat already asking about my butt tattoo. Yeah, the goal is to have it done, ready for you guys to view by the draft. All right, I'm working on my.
You got to work it in between the shifts, at the office, right?
I'm working on losing like 40 pounds and shaving that sucker for you, Emilio.
Wow.
Hey, put it on the ticker.
So anyways, back to free agent cornerback talk
and shaving that sucker for you. My
Yeah, no shot.
Let's talk
Don't
about
even
more
put
free
my
agent
name
corners.
into it.
What, Tim? What?
Can we just talk about more free agent cornerbacks?
We could if you want.
How about that Asante Samuel Jr., huh? We haven't talked about him.
Here's the guy.
There you go. I don't know. Anything to change the subject from Jacob Bass to
if
football.
Jacob shows up in April to lot 1 and he's got some, I'm trying to think of the appropriate term. I've got about 3 different versions that people use. All of them are inappropriate. Some shorts with that butt cheek hanging out, right?
Lieutenant Jay Dangle from Reno 911.
Man, when he comes out with his boots and kicks them up in the air sideways.
Just goofing. Just new boot goofing.
All right, let's jump into Twitter. It's already off the rails bad. I thought this was a cool graphic by Football Insights at @football_insights. You guys know we talked about defensive tackle a lot last year. We've got the draft. I've got my draft board right here in front of me. We can kind of talk about some of these players that we were pretty high on. When they were breaking down their college tape or college statistics, what have you, what they included here is where they played, what tech they played, right? You've got A gap, you got B gap, and then over the tackle. And then, of course, you've got run stop rate, you've got the run defense grade, and then pass rush, you've got the pass rush win percentage and the pass rush grade. So you can see here at the top in this year's class, you got Mason Graham leading the way there. And I think they're using kind of a combination of all of these things to rank them. It looks to me like they're ranked, or maybe they're in position by where they're at on the board. But Mason Graham at the top. Second, they've got Walter Nolan, who his strength is definitely run defense, right? His run defense grade was 91.6, run stop rate 11.9%, his pass rush win rate at 10.9%, so a little lower, and his pass rush grade at 75. So it seems as if Walter Nolan might be a little more of a run defender. Both of those guys are B-gap players, what we refer to as the 3 tech, okay? Kenneth Grant, third here. He obviously, of all these players, he's one that can play a 1 tech, but he also can play the 3, right? He's got 31% of his snaps came in the A gap, which is typically a 1 tech or playing shade over the center. And then you've got 68% of his snaps, he played B gap, 3 tech, maybe a 4-eye, that type of look right there. So I thought this was interesting, man. And again, his run stop rate is only 7.9%. His grade was 86.3. His pass rush win rate, 9.4%. His grade, 75.3. So if you were to remove the names and look at some of these numbers, I don't think I would be as high on Kenneth Grant. However, you guys know how we feel about him. He's sitting in the number 15 spot on our board. So I won't list them all off. Let's just go around the horn. I'm assuming you guys can read this okay. Let's keep it on topic with the prospects from this year's draft. and then we'll go back to last year. And I've got some PFF grades I can pull up in real time to see how PFF think they graded out. But let's start with you, Emilio. What sticks out to you here, man, on the chart?
Yeah, I think that was a great point out there, Kenneth Grant, with the A gap alignment at 31%. I think it's also looking at Darius Alexander, who's been climbing up the board a lot. Dude is strictly sitting in B gap. I think that's kind of cool, but it is against Toledo, so I'm taking those grades with just a little bit of salt. But I really do like that, and I think TJ Sanders is one that might sneak up on us too, just being strictly in that B gap. Mm-hmm. I like looking at the numbers like this, so crunch it way down, kind of got your middle of the row, and then you can kind of work from there.
Yep. Go ahead, boys. Round the horn. Tim, you go ahead, man. We'll go backwards this time.
I was really high on Talik Williams for a while. But I really feel like the more I look at the mocks and stuff, I feel like Darius Alexander probably has the best chance of being a Packer at the end of the day. Early prediction, going into the draft, knowing that we're probably going to have to reach for, a Mason Graham or, even a Tyleek Williams, someone like that. So I don't know if on our board, did Darius Alexander have a visit? Does he have a cheese emoji next to his name?
Do not think he does. Let me double check real quick though.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he did not.
Yeah. I look at his PFF grades and I just look at some tape and look at where he's projected to go and how things are shaping up. Like putting my Goody hat on, I feel like this is a guy that he might draft. I don't know when it comes to this position group specifically. I mean, Walter Nolan's another name that I like a lot, but I feel like guys like Derek Harmon or Darius Alexander are more realistic to fall to the Packers.
Especially it being a deep draft, right, Tim? Like they've been talking so much about it being a deep D-line draft, and the fact that if you can, when does Goody take a lot of shots? We took a lot of shots at tight end when it was a deep tight end class, and just kind of rinse and repeat. So I think you're spot on with that.
Yeah, I actually was going to talk about how my favorite pick for the later round steals would be Derek Harmon. I'm not exactly sure where you've got him listed on your consent, or not the consensus, but your guys' board. I just look at, he just seems very well all around. I mean, you've got guys obviously up towards the top like Mason Graham and Nolan, but I'd look down farther there and he seems well-rounded, decent sized school, played some great talent. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that his grades were one of those where you saw the progression pretty much each year he was there. And I'd like to see us take him at some point.
Yeah, we've got Derek Harmon in the 24 spot at the moment.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Him back to Darius Alexander. We actually got him, I think, in the 104 spot, 105-ish, somewhere in there. But yeah, Jacob, I think what Jacob's pointing out here, it's a great point, is when you look at this chart, it's easy to go, man, give me the dark green, give me the dark green.
Yeah.
You should probably look at someone's a little more balanced, look at someone who has the least amount of red. You know what I'm saying? Like kind of look at it from that perspective. And really the player that sticks out to me here is kind of TJ Sanders. Yep. He's a dude. Obviously the pass rush win rate wasn't great, but the grade 81.9, pretty decent. You don't see him being like bad at anything. Now, if you're going a premium on pass rush, because obviously we used some run stunting and things like that last year to stop the run, then maybe you do just key in on that pass rush win rate and go with someone like Jacob's talking about, Derek Harmon, 17.6% pass rush win rate, and then just kind of let the defense or the run defense take care of itself. But yeah, I see what you're saying, Jacob. He doesn't have any bright red there either, man. Just that light pink there on the run stop rate, right?
Yeah.
So
yep.
That's interesting.
Kind of similar to Alexander too. Look at his chart. You're not seeing any red.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know this. Johnny B in the chat says, can we double up Nolan in the first and Harmon or Alexander in the second? I would be okay with it, Johnny, but you and I would get ran out of town if we said that publicly. So I'm glad we're not live right now, okay? There's many people that's just, D tackle ain't a big deal. And I'm thinking it's amazing how we forget, man. We forget how we just got manhandled there in the middle. I mean, on the trenches, both sides. And that's the thing that gets me is like the further you get away from the end of the season, it's like we all start to forget what actually happened. It's more, what's the buzz? Who's the buzz pick? Who's the prospect this week that everybody's excited about? And you kind of fall into that. That's why I try to create our board the way we do, is to remove the majority of that hype. and get, okay, how do we actually feel about these players at the end of the year as opposed to, getting too deep into the off season here. So let's see, Jake Shavink in the chat. I hope there's a mock draft in the works at the end of the show. If we've got time, what we're going to do is Daniel Jeremiah put a mock draft 2.0 out. We will use the Pro Football Network's mock draft simulator, and we'll put his picks in. And then when we get to Green Bay's, we'll hold up for a minute, kind of have a discussion. All right, who would you go with here? Go around the horn, that type of thing. I think will be a lot of fun. So hopefully we'll have time to do that. Johnny B, can we double up? Nolan in the first, we hit that one, right? So anything else you guys want to hit on this chart in terms of the prospects coming into this year? Because I know we were talking the other day, Omar Norman Lott looked pretty solid. According to this chart, not so much, right? So
I thought he did look solid, Clay. Look at the boy up there leading the pass rush with the 18%. Come on now.
That is
200 attempts.
That's getting after it. Now that 6% run stop, that worries me a little bit. But again, you may go that path of, hey, let's just go get a pass rusher, and we'll take care of the run defense. Don't worry about it.
Right, and they asked him. I mean, looking at it there, they asked him to play 30% over the tackle. I mean, that's a wide 4.25. So I mean, they could be getting gashed up the. I mean, I don't remember all the games, but they could have been getting gashed up the middle if he's setting up that wide. But I mean, I do, that excites me, that pass rush. I mean, if that's what we're worried about, if we want Coop and Quay, whoever the other linebacker is, to flow to the ball, get down on run plays, I'm cool with that. Just be the body. I mean, if that's his worst spot, that's the lowest grade that we had on all the run defense. Maybe we live with that if we picked up a Harmon or somebody else, kind of thing.
I think there's a logic to that for sure, that the emphasis is clearly on pass rush, right? If we're going to make a concession at all, we're willing to deal with a little bit of downside when it comes to the run fit. If you're a monster in the pass rush,
Definitely. You guys remember last year, Byron Murphy was like hands down our best defensive tackle in the draft, right? We talked about that. Now he wasn't in the top tier of talent. He had a grade of 13.8. To put that into perspective, some of the prospects that were above him at different positions, people like Chop Robinson, Quinyon Mitchell, Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze, Marvin Harrison Jr., Jaden Daniels, Drake May, people like that, right? So it's not like he was, even though he was our top defensive tackle, it wasn't like he was considered a Mason Graham, how Mason Graham looks on the board this year, right? But he actually had a down year, man. I went and ran back through. I can do this each player individually. Byron Murphy, which, by the way, I don't know what happened to this cat. You guys ever seen, you guys used to watch Chappelle's show back in the day, right? You guys remember the Prince episode?
Oh, yes.
Tell me this doesn't ring a bell, Ray. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? I'm just saying. I seen it and I went, we'll call it shirts versus skins.
Game blouses.
That's what it was. Blouse. God almighty, man. You guys want some pancakes?
Hey, I've read now multiple times that's legit. Prince could ball. He would actually take you, and he could ball, dude.
But yeah, they thought they were joking. Charlie Murphy never told a lie. I don't believe, man. Even with old Cuzzy getting kicked 6 feet in the air and hitting the mirror and sliding down. Anyway, so Byron Murphy last year, guys, don't cheat. If you've already looked it up, stay quiet. All right. What do you think Byron Murphy's PFF grade was his rookie year? Because we've been critical of Devontae Wyatt over the years. Like, hey, is he actually worth a first round pick? Again, this was the top defensive tackle on our draft board last year. And it's, Seattle took him at 16, right around that mark that we had him on the board. What would you guys guess his PFF grade was?
62.
58.
I'll take 57 so I can cover everything below 10.
You were close, 58.2.
Ah, nice.
58.2. So again, I read that. Okay, well, man, he really sucked, didn't he? Oh, cow. So let's go look at Aurora, I think it's Aurora, right? And see what his PFF grade was last year. He played, looks like he was hurt until week 5, and then he played week 5 pretty much through 8, and then he was hurt again until 15, and then played, weeks 15 through 18. His PFF grade, 56.2. You're seeing the trend here, I thought this was wild. Jerzon Newton, you guys remember, we were pretty high on him. I want to say he was our second best defensive tackle on the draft board last year. His PFF grade, 52.7.
Dang.
Right? Now, if you'll remember, the one defensive lineman that everybody's like, yeah, but he's out of shape and he's kind of big and I don't know, he'd be probably an A-gapper, was Tavondre Sweat, right? He is, to the best of my knowledge, had the best grade of everyone. I'm going to see if I can find it here real quick.
Wasn't he in the 70s or something?
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure he had a pretty successful year.
76.2.
Let's go.
Yeah, his run defense grade 75, pass rush grade 64.7, tackle grade 69.7. So again, if we look at our board, and this is what we're talking about, like it's tough to. If you looked at these prospects from last year, though, Tavondre Sweat pops off. Does he not pop off the chart right here when you look at this graphic we got on the screen? But again, people were kind of down on him, and that's why it's important to really draw your own conclusion. Don't listen to the hype and the downfall of some of these guys. You got to be real careful. We had Tavondre Sweat as the third best defensive tackle with a grade of 39 on him. So he was in the range with Jordan Morgan. He was right there on the same tier with Jordan Morgan.
If y'all remember too, biggest criticisms or unknowns is that, hey, he's next to Byron Murphy. Like, which one is Catalyst A or Catalyst B or 1A or 1B? I would argue that it probably looks like Tavondre was the better player out of the two, even though it's weird that Byron had more snaps in that A gap with just the size difference there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you sounded a little muffled. Did you guys hear that too?
Yeah, I think it might have just cut out for a sec.
Gotcha. You probably got a little wonky on us. But yeah, so Tavondre Sweat so far, the best in his class. Braden Fisk, you guys remember they were talking about him for being Defensive Rookie of the Year? Y'all remember that?
Yeah,
his PFF grade, 57.5 with a tackle grade of 29.1.
That's wild.
Now, again, what stood out about Braden Fisk last year? He was the fastest, best of my knowledge, he was the fastest defensive tackle to run the 40, right?
The fastest guy around?
Some would say. So, again, man, it's what's important to you. And the fact that on this chart, the fourth listed defensive tackle, Tavondre Sweat, has hands down had the best season, really should tell you something. Just because you got all the measurables, just because you like Byron Murphy, we know why he was rated so high. Look at this, 9.5%. Like there's nothing in the red, dark green on the pass rush win rate at 19.6 and the pass rush grade of 91.5. But again, Tavondre Sweat was a teammate of his, and we always talk about did one benefit from the other. Kind of feels like Byron Murphy was benefiting from Tavondre Sweat eating double teams, It really does. So I thought that was really interesting. Mason Smith, I haven't looked this one up yet. Let's see what Mason Smith looks like here real quick. Mason Smith, he went to Jacksonville. God love his heart. 43.7. 43.7. Chris Jenkins.
Did you say he went to Jacksonville?
I believe so. Yes, sir.
Duval.
I was waiting. All right. So next you've got Chris Jenkins. We were pretty excited about him. I remember thinking, man, that'd be cool to have Cullen's. I think it was his nephew, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Awesome. 45.4 PFF grade.
Yeesh.
I mean, you're seeing there's only been one of these rookie defensive tackles that graded out in the 70s. That's wild to think about. And then Michael Hall Jr., we were pretty high on our board. And I'm trying to think. I don't know what he graded out as here. 67.7. Guess what, guys? He fell to the second round. Selection 54. So your two best defensive linemen out of this list from last year was Tavondre Sweat, third on our board, and then Michael Hall Jr. This is according to PFF. Again, it's not everything. But Michael Hall Jr. we had as way down. And by the way, he was one of those, what was it, Emilio, 6 or 7 players that were in the magenta color, meaning they were a perfect match for the Packers.
Yep.
He was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th on our board. So these guys we keep talking about at 3-Tech, that guy's a stud, that guy's a stud. We're going off the information we got, but the reality is the large majority of them probably not going to pan out. That's wild to think about. There was something else too. You guys remember us talking about Leonard Taylor? Do you remember this, Emilio, during the draft, Tim? Remember Leonard Taylor fell And it's like, why is nobody taking him? Because we had a pretty high grade on him. Do y'all remember that?
Yep.
I wonder what do we know what happened there by chance?
I thought it was either injury or character issue that made him fall, but I could be wrong.
He ended up going to the Jets, free agent, undrafted free agent, right? They picked him up. He played 261 snaps, 62.7 PFF grade. It looks like he finished the season on their roster. They looks like he got his first playing time in week 3. So, for what that's worth, I remember thinking, why is everybody passing on him? And I still, like you said, Jacob, you just kind of assume that's what it is, right? That it's some kind of disciplinary thing. But,
Right.
Mike Witt with the super chat. Thank you, Mike. He said, hey, guys, I don't know how high he is ranked, but I really like a cornerback from Kentucky. Very good ball skills and run stopper. Forget his name, though. You're probably talking about Maxwell Harrison.
Yep.
Right. I imagine whose that is. Amelia, you know where we have him on the board now? I know he's shuffled around quite a bit, hasn't he?
Maxwell Harrison, we have him 97th.
There you go. He started off low, didn't he?
Yeah. Yep.
So,
his 24 grade was rough, being 484. So I don't know if he got hurt or anything, but his 2023 grade, he was 62nd. And then PFF 74 on the big board, 74th consensus had him 62.
Mm-hmm.
He's at 81 right now, according to PFF.
There you go.
But it's not cooperating with me, so that might not be accurate. I'm trying to pull him up, and it keeps redirecting.
He's sliding a little bit ever since they put him in. And DJ's got him 44th, 33rd has him 57th, and Dane has him 54th. So he's kind of sitting right there. I was also listening to Move the Sticks, and they had Nagy on talking to DJ and them, and they said that the Iowa corner, Darian Porter, they said that he covered fastest guy, right? I think there. So, you just got to kind of keep it in mind, but he's right around where they are as well. And then the next nearest person would be Anthony Johnson Jr., the cornerback out of Western Kentucky.
Another Ant Johnson Jr.?
Yeah, what?
I just
We don't have him on a big board is the only problem.
We got to get him on the board. What's keeping us?
No, I have him on the board. I can't find him on the big board at all. Like the PFF and consensus doesn't have him.
Gotcha. Hopefully that answers your question there, Mike Witt. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. We appreciate you. Jay Cole says, I would be okay with CJ West and Peebles. That's 2 players that the Packers have shown interest in for sure.
Man, that's a name that keeps coming up, right?
I love Peebles and West.
Yep.
Yeah. And think about this, man. Like, we talk about it a lot, and then it's when the draft gets closer, it's, hey, let's take somebody in the first round. Based off the information that we just shared with everybody, and this is just strictly PFF grades, take it how you want. Wouldn't it suggest you trade back in that scenario if you're looking to take a 3-tech? You know what I'm saying? And maybe have 2 swings at it. Now, here's what's crazy. What's been the big criticism of Brian Gutekunst? It wasn't free agency. He knocked it out of the park. It's not later round picks. He knocked those out of the park, right? It's first round picks. LVN hasn't panned out, right? We'll take him at 13, I believe it was, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
That's you guys 13. So you take LVN, he hasn't panned out yet. I'm still holding out hope. But in that scenario, wouldn't it have made more sense to trade back, based off of what we've seen so far?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think the year before. You go back to the Quay Walker year. I think that makes a lot of sense to trade back. Devontae Wyatt, now he is our best pass rusher, so that's a little bit for me, on the interior. He's definitely the most consistent pass rusher. That's not my words, that's Goody's. And he wasn't provoked in asking, who was your best pass rusher on the interior? They asked about him, and he offered that information. He was definitely our most consistent pass rusher on the interior. So I don't know, man. It just seems like I start off the draft process every year, and I'm just kind of thinking out loud. And it's, man, I'm team trade back. In the last few weeks, it's like, who could we get at 23? What makes the most sense? And now here we are a couple of weeks later, and I'm going, damn, we need to trade back. It keeps coming back. I don't know. Does that make sense? And what's your all's take on that type of mindset?
I mean, with the few amount of picks that we have, and looking at, the depth in this draft, based on position groups and position of need versus best overall available, I think there's logic to trade back. Depending on what you're trying to target in that first and second round. But, maybe this is the year. We're all speculating what's Goody going to do with the first round pick. It's like I'm still not convinced that he won't trade it away. And, drafting Green Bay or not, I think he's going to do what's best for the team. And if he thinks trading back is going to be the best thing for the Packers, then I think he'll do it. I mean, hell, he might trade up. I don't know, but I don't know if we necessarily stick and pick right there in the first round.
Yeah, I feel like, man, the drafts I really liked were going backwards or moving up. Every time we just kind of stuck and pick, I just wasn't sure on it. But I'm still to the point where I don't think we're going to go crazy scattershot. I really don't think he's going to want over like 8 picks, but I could be wrong. He could want to go to town and sign 12 of them and then cut half, and then we should be good to go. Find the team, a little competition. But yeah, I really either liked going up to get our boy, or let's just go back and get a couple more shots.
Yeah. Let's see here. JJ McQuaid says in the chat, take 2 defensive tackles this draft. Fred McFarley says Wooden and Brooks. We did that at 3-tech, 2 swings. It's a good point, right?
But when was the last time we took a 3-tech? Before pick 100,
right?
Wooden and Brooks we took in what 4th, 5th, 6th round. So it's not like the last time we spent a pick on somebody in the top 100 picks for the D line would have been
Wyatt.
Yeah.
And before that, when it's like.
Yeah, it's a good point.
So sometimes you got to take those talent. That's where I'm like, let's trade away those old later picks and let's just try to figure out how to wiggle our way up into the third, middle of the third, end of the third, something like that. Get a couple extra.
Yeah, definitely another way of looking at it for sure. Johnny B in the chat. Can you do an in-depth look at Luke Kandra and Connor Colby as interior offensive linemen? All right. Luke Kandra, we have in the 89 spot. All right. PFF 22 grade. He was the 68th best interior offensive lineman. I'm sure it was guard probably. 2023 jumped all the way to 10th. 2024 he fell back a little bit to 23rd, but still a solid grade. The consensus big board had him at 159. The PFF big board had him at 123. Again, we've got him at the 89 spot. And
he
then
dropped to 144 on PFF right now.
Did he really? Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
And then Connor Colby we're much lower on here, Johnny. Johnny Be Good. 276th 2022 PFF grade. In 2023, he jumped to 71. In 2024, he fell back to 276. That's really weird that he fall all the way back to the same number. We have him currently in the 218 spot. He was at 118 on the PFF big board at the time and 152 on the consensus big board at the time. Where's Connor Colby at now on the PFF big board, Tim?
162.
Gotcha. All right, so he's fallen since we had him there at the 118 spot. So we'll probably end up having him a little higher than some people will, I would imagine. But right now, that's where he's sitting until we get some of the other draft board information in. Mike Witt with the super chat. Something nobody is talking about since season ended. Kenny Clark looked really old. Was it the new defense or Father Time catching up? Mike, I'm sure you've heard us say this many times. And I don't want to pile on too much, but I did not want them to re-sign Kenny. And I was saying, man, I'd be very surprised if they give him a new contract. And lo and behold, they gave him a new contract. And then last year he took a step back, but I'm not going to sit here and BS y'all. You guys know, you watched this show. We were holding out hope that this was going to unlock Kenny, right? Yep. Now, I tried to curb the enthusiasm a little bit because I was explaining to people, but guys, they didn't 2-gap every snap, last year or the year before in 2023. There was a lot of 1-gapping going on, and many people in the sports media were making it sound like the interior defensive linemen were just playing 2-gap all the time. That was not the case. So I'm not crazy surprised that we go to a 4-3 and we're predominantly 1-gap, and all of a sudden he didn't hit there. But again, I think I was expecting him to play a little more 3-tech. That's what everybody was saying, right? You remember It was no longer is he going to be playing nose, he's going to be playing 3-tech. And I kept saying, man, guys, he's already playing 3-tech. What the hell are y'all watching? Like how are we watching the same game and you just magically you convince yourself that he's playing in a spot he wasn't, And then lo and behold, this year we go to a 4-3 and they kick him to a 1-tech. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, man. What's your all's take on that with Kenny Clark there?
I think it's a little of both, right? The new defense and Father Time, Let's be honest. I mean, we've kind of I don't know. I don't want to drag any player. You know me. I don't want to do that. But we've been kind of down on Kenny the past couple of years. And, with Half coming in and, new regime, new scheme, all of that, we thought for sure he'd be unlocked. And, we didn't ultimately see it. He's not getting any younger, right?
Yeah. To me, it's a money thing. The amount of money that we've paid this guy over his career, and you stack that up with what the top performing D tackles have done in comparison to his results. I can't. That's one receipt I can't audit and be happy with.
Yeah, it's one of those big.
Now.
Yeah, one of those IOUs. That's a big one, Jacob. You're going to want to hang.
You're going to want to. That's a Ferrari. You might want to hang on that one.
But I think it's true though. Really, I mean, they paid him coming into his 30. Yeah, they paid him coming into 2024, 2025, expecting him to be ready to roll it, and performing at that pay scale. He's what our highest cap hit. I'm not cutting on Kenny. We just need more. That's the truth, man. When you are the highest cap hit, we need you to step up. Same with kind of Rashawn. You're up there. You're climbing, coming back from an injury. I'm not just pointing at one, but and also, hey, let's get a running mate. Is Devontae White going to be that guy? Do we need to get another 3-tech? Let's get somebody on the other side of Rashawn so he has somebody to take a little focus off of. So it's a little bit of the team building aspect, but it's also a little bit of, hey, we need some more from the players.
Yeah, definitely. Joe in the chat, do y'all think who we draft first for defense shows what scheme Hafley plans to run, i.e. corner means a true 4-3 or a 3-tech he sticks with simulated package? That's a great question. If he takes a corner, I don't think it has anything to do with scheme, me personally. I think it's more along the lines of even if Ja's back, there's a chance that they take a corner in the first round because Jair hasn't proven he can stay healthy, And again, if you guys haven't listened to Ryan's podcast, his most recent one, go listen to it. He kind of talks about it too. It sounds like he's come to the realization too, like, yeah, there's something going on behind the scenes there for there to be this much smoke, And he pointed out, Devondre Campbell was kind of complaining about being asked to play hurt. And, of course, then he got raked over the coals because he played bad. That was his perspective. Since then, I think we would all agree Devondre is just kind of been his own worst enemy everywhere he's went. If everywhere you go, it smells like that. You guys know the saying. Yeah. So I don't know, man. When it comes to Ja and that whole situation, I think if we draft a corner, it's going to be more along the lines of, hey, even if Ja's on a roster, we can't really depend on him to be healthy, as opposed to I need this corner to run the scheme I want to run. I was not surprised at all that Hafley pressed into the zone as much as he did. Because we try to set the stage the entire season for that, man.
Yeah, we heard all, press man, we're going to be aggressive. And, like the whole logic that man-to-man and being aggressive go hand in hand. I mean, it's true to a certain extent, but you can be aggressive as hell with zone and, mirror match, those kind of things. So I don't think we were surprised to see the amount of zone that Hafley mixed in. But some people might have been,
No, definitely. All right, anything you guys want to add to that? Emilio, Jacob, anything else?
I just think to put a cap on the Kenny conversation quick, number one Packer fan brings up a good point. I can't be down on a player who's doing what he asked him to, says it's not his fault that he got major paid either. And then Doc came in and said something similar. He says the coaches were asking him to touch spy and eat double teams. It's their fault, not Kenny's. I think that that's a valid argument. I think that's fair.
Emilio, that's where it feels weird because it's like that's your highest paid dude.
Yeah.
And, and it wasn't like they're going out of their way to double Kenny. We were lining him up in the 1-tech to almost force a double team. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you expect him to come on the field and he's eating up those kind of snaps. It's like, hey, do we want to put TJ Slayton out there and have him soak up the double team, or is that really what we want? We want Kenny to stand there, engage, shed, and get down the line. That might be it. Maybe we just have more faith and trust in him, but then, hey, he needs a running mate that can do it with him if we're going to ask him to do that much of it.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's see here. Joe in chat says, do y'all think
we just hit that, but to that point, I still would like Hafley to stay in multiples. That I think pigeonholing it into just like a 4-3, like Matt was saying, 3 high. That's cool. I like that, but I mean, look what slowed down, look what slowed down the Chiefs against Philly was 2 high shell. They stayed it in 75% of the time, and they blitzed or they rushed 4 every single time. They simmed one or 2, right? And just as a look, but still only brought 4. which we did all year. So I don't see why we would get away from it because it kind of worked for us. I do think that we might need to flutter in a little bit more too high shell and keep everything in front of you. So that's all I'm running in college football, right, Jacob? Is cover 4, keep everything underneath. Honestly, 2-3 dime cover 4, call it a day.
That's why we got to beef up that D line, baby.
Yeah,
we need some personnel in there to do that.
Amelia plays on freshman though.
I love trolling people online, complaining about quarters coverage. They're like, my guy, he's in man coverage. He ain't playing zone. I'm like, you're a knucklehead. You don't know what quarters is.
Yeah. And they have it too now, Clay, in the college football. They have match now. They have cover 4 match. I'm like, dude, perfect. Thank you. Let the guy, if you're running a streak route, fine, run with him.
And when you play quarters on that, whether it's that or Madden, quarters means unless it's specified, a quarters drop, and they're not going to call it country quarters, but that's what like Coach Haddad called it. But if it's just called quarters, right? That cover 4 quarters is zone match anyway. Mm-hmm. And it's just okay, let's just motion this dub set over to Trey. I'm sending him deep, and you're going to go, what the hell happened?
Yep.
It's hilarious watching people try. And I kept saying palms, and they never caught on. I was just trolling the hell out of this guy. Like, palms, you're looking for palms, brother. You ain't looking for quarters. You don't know. Stop complaining about the game. You don't know what you're talking about. Okay. Well, anyway, it's come a long way since Jacob was running all over people in Tecmo with Bo Jackson. You know what I'm saying?
Here's the guy.
Bo Jackson was unstoppable. Do you remember that scene in Family Guy where he's like, Peter, you're playing with Bo Jackson? He's like, I'm better than you. He's just running around back and forth.
It's a pretty good Peter voice there, man. All right, so just a couple more things here on X. Ian Rappaport, the 2025 franchise tag window opens today, and if history is any indication, there won't be much action until the window is nearly closed on March 4th. We kind of talked about that last night, so don't expect anything until the very end there. I thought this was cool. We many people complained about Ja not attending off-season stuff, even like OTAs and things. Same thing with Aaron when he was here those last few years. I thought this was awesome. Jordan Morgan on his story earlier, he was at Lambeau. He said Lambeau Field, but obviously he's at the practice facility. I thought that was really cool. Jordan Morgan putting in that work in the offseason, man. I want to see him take a big jump. And I think he's heard the noise of people calling him a bust. And in my opinion, man, that dude hasn't even really got a shot yet. They were trying to rotate him with Sean Ryan. Many people were watching the tape and going, bro, he needs to be starting over Sean Ryan. And Sean Ryan had one of his best seasons. So I'm excited to see what Jordan Morgan puts together this year. Man, we forget he was a captain in college. Yep. He's one of these dudes that his teammates absolutely loved him, a hardworking guy, very athletic. I think he's going to shock people this year, man. We're going to look up and go, damn, this guy's borderline Pro Bowl guard. I really believe that, man.
I'm with you. And I echo that sentiment. And you see it right here. He's working out now, right? Let's see fully healthy going into a season what he looks like. And him taking a huge step in year 2, that could shift the whole balance of our O-line just by him being able to go out and be a beast out there. So I'm not in that camp. I don't know why fans are willing to write him off so quickly. He was injured his rookie year. It happens,
Yeah. So Turtle says Morgan's going to be a beast. Greg Rice says Ja attended last year, right? He did. Ja was pretty much perfect attendance last year. And that's why we were like, all right, here we go, man. We cut. And then it was, next thing you know, he's,
Things could be a lot worse. I could be a Bears fan.
Hey,
just think about that, though. Like this time last year, Jordan Morgan wasn't even on the Packers, right? Like Jordan Morgan was literally just still trying to figure out what he was doing, coming out of Arizona and all that. So that's the nice thing about, hey, Coop now is going to have that. Jordan Morgan's going to have a whole offseason being, prep trained ready for NFL, got some, some plays in, get that shoulder fixed, and let's go to work.
Yeah, definitely. Like what Josh Martin says here, Morgan is our future left tackle. Listen, that's on the table. If Rasheed Walker says, no, I deserve more money than that, and Goody don't want to pay it, kick Morgan over to left tackle, let Rasheed walk, get a comp pick the following year, and move it along. That's kind of what we came to last night, right, Tim? We were talking Sheed. Yeah. Like, I want him back for the right price, but listen, we're not going to pay him $25 million.
I'm wondering if that's where the logic was, trying to kick him inside, see if he can play a guard position, knowing that we probably feel good about him playing the tackle spot. Obviously, he played there at Arizona, so they probably figured we got Sheed. Let's see if we can kick Morgan inside. If he can prove to be versatile, yeah, he's definitely an option. I would think that'd be like worst case scenario. You kick him to left tackle, and we kind of start over there.
Mm-hmm.
I like Johnny B's comment here. He says getting Morgan and Lloyd back fresh, like having 2 extra draft picks, but with a year of team exposure.
Yep,
that's kind of cool.
And listen, as bad as it sucks that those guys were hurt,